Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest is an indie pop singer-songwriter and producer based in the Bay Area and Los Angeles. Her newest single, If I Want To, featuring a previous On That Note guest, Dev Soter, is out right now on all streaming platforms, and you need to go check it out. Before we get the episode started, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to follow me at Parker Whirling and at onthatnote_podcast on Instagram. And on that note, please welcome Valley Girl. I'm sitting here with Valley Girl, an indie pop singer-songwriter based in Los Angeles and the Bay Area. Congratulations on your newest single, If I Want To, featuring an OTN previous guest, Dev Soter. I was really excited to find out that you guys were working together, and it's a great song. If everybody listening hasn't heard it yet, go check it out right now. I usually like to start the episodes off by asking about the writing and recording process behind the newest tune, and if there's anything different about the approach compared to your previous releases. So yeah, please walk me through this song, If I Want To.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I appreciate all of that. It's pretty funny because this one specifically was like the most different in the recording process than all the other ones because I am in transition, kind of moving stuff from, the Bay and LA and back and forth. And so I actually had like none of my equipment and I posted up in a room that like was pretty empty and I just had like a little table, like desk. And I used my really old MBox because I didn't have my new one, and it was like all of my old shitty equipment, and I just set it up, and it happened, and I don't know, I found like a little sample I wanted to use, and then it just happened in probably like 20 minutes. I just did the rough recording of the first idea, and then I had it for like a couple weeks, and Dev and I were talking about wanting to collab on something, and so then I hit up my producer, Nobu Sound, who does like majority of all my stuff. I hit him up and I sent it to him, and then we went back and forth, and he turned it into a fucking spaceship. And then we hit up Dev, and then Dev heard it and he was like, fuck yes, please, thank you. So it was a little bit of a process, but the idea came in very quickly actually, which was shocking because like the month before that I had really bad writer's block, and so it worked out pretty well, and it was a pretty smooth working situation. Then with Dev it was great because it was like that second verse pocket was just perfect how Nobu did it for him, so he slid right in there.
Yeah, the chemistry on the song really works well, and I like that the beat kind of switches up a little bit when he comes in. It just adds an extra texture to it. It's like there's a lot of dynamic in the song. You kind of just mentioned about having writer's block for a couple months. What has your experience been with writer's block, the newest one, and maybe if you had one in previous times? Is there something you do to try to get yourself out of it, or do you just kind of hunker down and let it happen?
That's a good question. I think as a creative, I think every single creative would agree on this, and if they don't agree on this, then they have like magical powers, but I think pretty much everyone has a moment, or it's like kind of seasonal. I feel like it comes and goes. It's you can always count on like something in your personal life going crazy that'll maybe cause you to have a little bit of writer's block, or like you're just not really so inspired. If like life is a bit boring and there's not much going on, it can be hard to find that inspiration. So for me, I was a little bit spoiled for the lockdown. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I did music all day, every single day. And I treated it like a 9 to 5, more like a 8 to 11, but it was all day, every day. And so I was able to get into a pocket, for months and months and months and months. And then, when life started to pick back up and things were going on in the outside world, and there's like other responsibilities and shit you got to take care of, then it kind of takes your attention off of it for me personally. So it was really just finding that balance again and being able to deal with personal life stuff, and then also, having to find that space and give yourself that creative time So that was where my writer's block came in. I was just dealing with a lot of personal shit in my life. And so I had to kind of like figure out how to balance everything. But as far as getting out of it, I think it's different for each person. For me, I'm used to like I'm used to just like being able to do music and knocking stuff out really quickly, and so it kind of like fucks me up a little bit. Like people always have to remind me like, yo, like every creative goes through this shit, and like everybody has writer's block. I personally hate writer's block. It drives me fucking nuts, and I will literally like do anything that I need to do to get out of it, and I don't have something specific that works. I just will like try to, you know, exercise a lot, and maybe like that'll help clear my head into like a more of a creative space, or I won't exercise at all and I'll like watch like a really dope movie that like helps open up spaces in my mind, or like listen to a fuckload of music that I've never heard before. So I think it's just different for me. It depends on the season, it depends on where I'm at in my fucking life. But yeah, writer's block is not my cup of tea, and I fucking hate it.
It is so strange. It's such a weird feeling when you're going through it, because any day, any second could be the moment that you break it, which is almost like the frustrating part, because you think, all right, maybe right now is when something happens, and then you're like just sitting at your computer doing nothing for the next 3 hours because nothing is coming, nothing like is sticking with you. But to me, I try to think about it like, you know, I can't really control it. I can do the best I can to show up and do the work that is necessary, but it's not necessarily the artist's fault if it's not working out for you in that moment, because it almost feels like this, you know, to get a little woo-woo, it's like getting in touch with the universe. Like, you can't force it all the time, and I think there's probably a reason, especially if you're going through personal shit. Maybe you need to have time to process these things before you can write something that like takes you to the next level, maybe emotionally, because you finally are processing these things that are going on with you at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think that that's like a healthy view, I would say. I think that that's really like that makes the most sense. And I do think we need to give ourselves that time to be able to like deal with personal life stuff and process stuff. And it's not, you know, I'm like I'm kind of known for just like being really hard on myself, because I feel like it's my self motivation is what I feel like will get me from point A to point B. It's just staying really self motivated and encouraging myself. And like, you know, if you don't have a lot of people around you to do that, then like you need to do that for yourself. But I do think that there's a healthy balance for sure. So, you know, I think that's something that I personally am working on, actually, is just like being okay with having writer's block for a little bit, or like being okay with whatever the process is. Because ultimately it's like when you're in it, it feels like shit, and you're like, oh fuck, like I can't write a song anymore, like I can't produce shit anymore, or whatever. And you get really like discouraged, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're inspired one day, or you just like shut your brain off and start doing something, and you're inspired, and then all of a sudden like something magical comes out of it. So
Yeah, it is magical. That's a great way of putting it, because you can't quite put your finger on what that thing is when it does hit you like lightning in a bottle. You just mentioned self-motivation, which I think is such a big part of being an artist who releases their own music. It can be really hard for artists to especially take that first leap, right? Like when you haven't done anything. And I mean, I know you started releasing music this year, right? 2021.
yes, yeah, like officially, yeah.
So that takes a lot of courage to take that first step and release that first thing. And it does require a lot of self-motivation, and not everybody around you might feel the same way or give you that kind of thing. How was that experience getting yourself to that place of putting that first song out there? Was it scary? Were you nervous at all?
Um, It's uh it's weird. I've been doing music for a long time, so some people might, you know, when you look at someone you're like, "Oh, it's an overnight thing or overnight success or whatever."
Right.
I never believe in that with people. I think that you just don't see what's going on for artists and creatives and the time that they've put in and the hustle that they put in. You just don't see it until you see it. So I think, I've been doing music for like seriously for about, I want to say like 8 or 9 years now or something like that. And it took a really long time to find what I like and what works for me and what makes me feel confident and makes me feel good at what I do and get better at songwriting and get better at producing. And like, it just takes fucking time and you have to have a lot of patience. And so when it came to the point of putting stuff out, it's been years. I mean, it's been years of me like wanting to put stuff out and it just didn't sound right. And all of the lockdown, I was working with a multi-Grammy winning producer, and we did a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, yo, this is this is gonna, like, I believe in my shit so much, like, there's a different sound. I mean, If I Want To is like a portion of what we do. It's like a part of it, and there's a whole world that we've created that's even bigger than that. And so I have like, overall we have like probably over 100 songs so far, full songs and ideas that we're in the process of finishing. But I'm excited for people to hear it. I think it can be frustrating, and I will say for people that are, maybe thinking about putting stuff out and they're a little discouraged or they're worried about it. They're worried about how people are going to react to it. I would say do not give a fuck. If you believe in it and it's what you love to do and you feel it, like, your confidence will sell it, and you also have to be willing to put stuff out and have people not listen to it or have people be like, that's cool. Like, I've had people be like, yeah, whatever. And then I've had other people who have won multiple Grammys that are like, yo, this shit's fucking insane. So it's like, it's just to each their own. Like, you don't take the negative feedback as negative. Just take it as like, okay, that's their opinion, So yeah, I mean, it's a mix. There's a mix of emotions, but I also am like starting to understand that this music industry is a business. And you start out doing it because you love it and because you want to be creative and you feel good making music and it makes you feel alive. And it's it's like therapy for a lot of people. And eventually you realize that it is a business. And so you have to put your business hat on and you have to figure out, how am I going to remove my emotions from the situation and put out this song and not give a fuck what the people have to say that's negative, or take it as fuel, and like turn it into money, and whatever your motivation is. I personally do music because I love it so much. And so I'm trying to incorporate more of the business end of it, but it's two different worlds. So you just have to like put it out, be confident in what you're doing, stay motivated, and believe in yourself. That's the most important thing.
When did you realize it was a business? Like, what moment was there? Was there like an instant, or like was there something like an experience where you're like, oh shit, like this isn't just about making me feel good, like there's a whole process behind it?
Yeah, it was last year, actually. I thought it was last year. I'm losing track of time because of like COVID and everything, but right. Yeah, it was sometime, I want to say last year. It was actually with somebody that I was working with, and everything was like great, multi-Grammy winning producer. Everything was like going, and we were making song after song after song, talking about like the idea and what we wanted, and just we were all like really connecting on the same wavelength of how we see the project, how we see music videos, how we see promotion, like all of this stuff. And then the contract came. So
what was in the contract? If you're allowed to talk about it, I don't know.
It was, it's tough because this specific person is just I think a little more old school. And so, back in the day, contracts were, they like fucked you over easy. And now artists are realizing that you can do stuff independently.
Yeah.
And so we know that there's a way for us to do it where we're not taken advantage of, and all of, we're not like giving somebody else like all of our masters and letting somebody else make all the bread off of us when like we put in all the work and all the legwork, you know? So it could be a little bit of both for in that specific situation, but I just saw the contract, and not to get into too many specifics, but it was not gonna work for me at all. It was, yeah, it just was not gonna work for me. It wouldn't have worked for most people. I'll just put it to you that way. And so that was the moment that I realized that this shit is a fucking business. And so, you know, it's really just listening to your gut. Like I had to really, that was tough for me because I had to listen to my gut, and I had to be like, oh, wow. Like, you know, I can't use any of those songs that we like,
Right.
you know, so
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So that was pretty tough. And there was one that I was hella excited to put out. It was actually, we were trying to get like an old like Juice WRLD verse on it because it was originally his, made for him, and he had done a verse to it. And so we were like creating around that. And yeah, there was just like, it was eventually, you know, for a long time I was like, no, it's just like music, and it doesn't matter. Like, and
Right.
then I woke up to that situation one day, and I was just like, whoa, like, you'll learn quick. Like you'll get fucked over. People will love to fuck you over.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a buddy who got absolutely screwed in a contract, and it was like kind of obvious that it was a pipe dream situation, but some people don't want to think about that because you, being a good, decent person, want to assume that everyone else is like that too. But people do a lot of mental gymnastics to convince themselves that they're helping you, even though they're absolutely like railing you and taking your money.
Yeah, and I think people think that I don't know how people sleep at night. I really don't. Not those type of people. I don't get it.
I don't get it. But that's impressive, and it takes a lot of guts to turn down something like that because you want to believe so hard that not only is this person looking out for you and like wants the best for you, but with that comes this dream that you have in your mind of being, being a working musician and making things happen and making music that you really love. And it's hard to imagine something like that getting in the way, like a contract getting in the way. And it takes a lot of guts to turn something like that down.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think it's just it is a gut feeling though. I think in life in general, just from my personal experience, I think it's so important to listen to your gut. Like if you feel weird about something or something doesn't feel right, I feel like our gut tells us the future.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you really listen to your gut, and if you take a second and it's like, ooh, how does this feel inside my body? And if it doesn't feel good, you'll know. And if you do it anyways, 9 times out of 10, shit's gonna end up fucked. So like,
Right.
It's just really like believing in your path and your journey and the universe, like providing other opportunity. And also it doesn't stop the hustle, and it doesn't stop what you're doing. Like there's nothing that's going to stop that, you know, unless you let it. So it's like, okay, cool. That didn't work out. Like, great. We're
Right.
just going to, you know, move right along and go in a different direction that will end up better anyways, because it always does.
Absolutely. Shifting back to If I Want To with Dev, was there a part of this creation process, especially because you said it was kind of different from your other songs, that you want to take into future projects, like some things you learned that you are going to utilize in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the simplicity of it is what I want to utilize more. My producer and I, for a long time, you know, when we were doing music every day during the lockdown and everything, we did enter into a different world that I think people could relate to, but it's not as like forefront. It's not as simple, I guess. Like we were just creating stuff that was a little just more complex. I'll put it to you that way. It was just a little bit more complex. And so I've been noticing that, you know, If I Want To took 20 minutes for me to write, and it came easily, and it's an easy listen, and it feels good. I think that is something that I want to carry out more. And also the fact that, like, you know, for the first time in a long time, it was just me and my laptop starting the idea, at least just like getting the first idea and the initial idea out. And that always feels good because you feel like, I guess, more empowered to a sense as an artist and as a songwriter, you know, when you can start a full idea yourself and you don't really like need necessarily someone else in the room. And you know that like that just makes you feel more independent as a creative in general. And then, you know, it takes a team to make it what it becomes, and it takes everybody to make it what it becomes. But I think that goes for anyone, like any creative. If you like start an idea from scratch, that shit feels fucking good.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something, you know, for the future I want to do more of, is just like keep like flowing with those, you know, starting from scratch ideas with, you know, samples or this, that, and the third, whatever I just like start with, lay down an idea and then go back and forth with, you know, my producer and whomever and like build from that. That always feels good. But definitely the simplicity part to it too. I think that like easy listens and shit that makes you feel good, that's something that I want to put more energy into.
Yeah, I heard a phrase once that changed the way I look at things, and it's that good things can come easily. A lot of people think that you have to really like bang your head against a wall to make good things happen, but sometimes the best things just sort of fall into your lap.
I like that a lot.
Right?
Yeah, I really like that.
It seems like that really applies to this song in particular.
Yeah, it sounds, yes, it does. It's funny that you said that because I spent so many years thinking that I like subconsciously, I like manifested a lot of struggle in my life because I felt like I needed to struggle in order to deserve like greatness. And I mean, no regrets. I think like everything happens for a reason, and my life experience and the shit that I've been through definitely, you know, made me who I am today. So, you know, I'm happy about that. But I do think that it's a mental thing, and I just started telling myself that like about a year ago. I was like, you know, fuck this. I do not need to like feel like shit to, you know, get the things that I want and to meet my goals. I don't need to like struggle and be like just fucked up in the head to like get to where I want to go, you know? It doesn't feel good that way anyways.
That is a weird thing that I think is especially true for artists. There's the stereotype of the starving artist or like the hopeless romantic in that way, and there's something very enticing about that, or about being the kind of person who wants to like give up everything just to focus on this one thing, which sometimes I wish I could do that, but I also know that that's not exactly healthy. And
well, I've done it and I don't necessarily recommend it.
Yeah, what was your experience?
I dropped I sacrificed pretty much everything. I barely talked to my family. I moved across the country multiple times. I like lived in rooms that are, I mean, seriously, like a 8x8 room with all of my shit in it. And that was the only space that I had. That was like my apartment. It should like not even be a legal living space, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I've been all over the map, and I've really like, I didn't talk to a lot of friends for a long, like I just sacrificed like my own happiness and any type of balance, like didn't have balance. It was all about, you know, music every day and as much as possible, and fuck everything else.
And yeah, it doesn't lead to success all the time.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, some people are built for that kind of thing, but those are like the rare breeds. And even that, I'm sure that those people would tell you that they wish that they could take a mental break.
Yeah, like it also fucks you up like mentally a bit. I mean, it just does. You're like isolating. For me personally, I'll speak for myself, like isolating myself and like leaving home, not having a community, not having a home for a long time, for probably like, I don't know, 8 years or something. You know, and not having money, like been fired so many fucking times. Like, oh my God. So, you know, it's like really you have to do what you have to do to get an apartment or, you know, be able to get food. Like it's just, you know, I would say on some level being in like survival mode and just trying to make ends meet and trying to, you know, every day does feel like a bit of a struggle emotionally, mentally, physically. And, you know, I think I'm grateful because I just grew a lot during those years. And I learned a lot about myself and what I can handle as a human being. And I learned a lot about the world. and I would never give back what I learned musically and how far I've gotten, so I'm super grateful for all of that, but again, it's a give and take. So
Right.
it's like dealing with like the stuff that happened that may have caused some like trauma or PTSD, or you're just like fucked up in the head a little bit. Like now you got to deal with that,
Yeah, it's good to be grateful for those things in a way and say thank you, but I'm moving on now, and I'm going to change things that need to be changed so that I can actually do the things I want to do and feel fulfilled the way I know I want to be.
Yeah, be happy, dude. Like, I think if you put in the work like that and you're able to like really progress and become really fucking good at what you want to do, that's incredibly important, yes. But if you're able to like do that and also be happy doing it and not put yourself through hell to do it, I think that's the dream.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite part of the creative process?
Actually, recording myself is one of my favorite parts.
Like recording your vocals?
Yeah, I just really it's like I kind of get to close off the world, and just me and the headphones and the mic. Turn it loud. You're kind of like in that universe of that specific song, and then like adding character to things and adding your little ad libs, and then adding some harmonies or chant. It's just like it's a vibe to like be just you and the mic. So I would say that is one of my favorite parts. I love the songwriting process when it's inspiring and it hits you, and I'm just like, oh shit, like fuck yeah, I love that. Like that's a great feeling. I love that feeling. And even just, I think all of it, there's ups and downs and all of it. But the recording, I think, is one of the most fun for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That moment when all of a sudden you get the hook or like
yes.
the best part of the song. You're like, I can't believe I wrote this. And then you like do your best you can to like record it or memorize it, because it almost feels like it's made out of thin air and it can just disappear in a second.
Yes, dude.
It's a delicate thing.
It is a delicate thing. I have a lot of moments where I like listen to stuff that we were doing like a year ago. There's just a lot of songs, and I've like listened to a whole bunch of them, and I'm just like, there's no fucking way I wrote that. Like, that's not even me. Like, I'm not even singing. That's not me. Like, you go into like this thing once it's done, and it's like, was that even you? Like, what the fuck? How did that happen? Like, how did that move through you? How did you write that? Like, what the fuck?
Do you have a particular song that you feel the most proud of?
Yeah, it's not released. Actually, I have a handful of them. I have a good amount. I have about, I don't know, probably like, I have a lot of them that I feel that way about. But I would say like a solid, maybe 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. And they're all unreleased?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about of the ones that are released?
The ones that are released, I would say lyrically, I would say Diamonds in My Grave.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that to me that also hit me pretty fast too. Like in the writing process, we were like bouncing ideas off of each other, and it was like, wait, oh, this would be sick here, blah, blah, blah. And like the whole story line of it is just like, to me, lyrically, that is my favorite out of all of them, I would say. And then I also love Bad Times Make for Good Conversation, and that concept, that was a really fun one to do. Actually, that night I was having writer's block and I was fucking irritated. And my producer was like, sit the fuck down, shut up, and like just write something. Mm-hmm. And that's what came out. And so that was nice.
That's a great title.
Yeah. That was, I don't even remember, like it just happened. I was just like writing out. I also take a lot of notes. I don't know if other songwriters do this, but like I constantly have my voice memo on my phone. I constantly have my notes up. I have like pages of ideas that are like song titles or hook ideas or just like something that came to me, and I'm like, oh, that would be cool to come into a song like that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like all day, every day, I'm like constantly trying to take notes because I'll forget it if I don't write it down. Yeah.
The weirdest one is when you wake up in the morning and you like had some dream of a song, or it's like 3 a.m. and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, that's so sick. And you have to like find your phone in the darkness and you're like trying to whisper because you don't want to wake up anybody, like any roommates or anything.
Yeah, I actually did that. That was like last night. I do this all the time. I will finally be like fall asleep. I'll be so close to falling asleep. And then a song idea will come to me or like a melody or something. And I'm like, fuck, like, oh my God, now I have to like wake my ass up.
Yeah.
I need to find my phone. It's like a whole thing. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. And then I'm just like, when am I going to get sleep? Because it happens almost every time I lay down.
Yeah, it is frustrating. Or like, couldn't this happen at like 2 p.m. when I'm like ready to go?
Literally. No, it can't, because like you finally lay down and everything's calm, and then
Exactly.
your mind turns on and it's like, hold on, bitch.
I remember once I was so groggy, like I woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning and this idea came in and I was like, oh, this is sick. Like I have to record it. But I was, you have that brain fog, and I reached for my phone and I hit the record button and I sing the thing very like terribly. But I checked the next morning. I'm like, oh yeah, let me hear what it sounded, because I totally forgot. Like in the morning, I'm like, thank God I recorded it, and then I can't find it in the voice memos, and I realized I was screen recording. Like I was screen recording, and I didn't do the voice memo at all, and it's gone.
Sucks.
It's somewhere out there in the universe, but it's not in my phone.
That sucks. That's really annoying.
That was a rough morning. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? But
yeah, now
whatever.
You're going to triple check that you have your voice on.
Exactly. I'll never make that mistake again. I did want to ask you about the Contact High music video, because that's your only music video out right now, right?
Yeah. We did that. A friend of mine, Emily, she is very talented. She does a lot of editing for like music videos and film and stuff. And we were all just in a really creative space, and we just wanted to, do some fun shit. And so I was going to put that song out anyways. And so we just came up with a few ideas and like locations to go to. And we just ended up like doing kind of, a random music video for the song. It was actually really fun to do.
It looked really fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. There was like a cool, dope beach that I had never been to out in Malibu. And
is it El Matador?
Yeah.
I thought I recognized it.
My God, that's funny. Yeah.
I was like, those rocks look really familiar. That's so
Apparently
cool.
It's popular. Like, I didn't even know that, and I had never really been there, and I guess it's a thing that people do.
It's beautiful. It's one of those, like, it's kind of popular, but not, every time you go, it's not, like, overwhelming.
Yeah, there's only, like, a handful of people usually,
right?
Unless you're there on, like, a Sunday or something, but I don't go anywhere on Sundays in LA, so.
No, I thought that was really cool that I was like, I think that's El Matador. I'm not quite sure, so I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
But doing your first music video is always a process. What was that like for you? Was it what were some of the trials and tribulations? Was there a favorite part of the experience, and maybe some unexpected challenges?
Well, we did the whole thing in like I can't remember if it was like a 24-hour turnaround. I think it was. I think we did it all in like 24 hours, or maybe 48. I don't know. We needed to catch the sunset at a certain time, so we had to like be... I'm trying to remember everything. It all happened so fast. We had to catch the sunset, and then we got some shots like at nighttime, and then we had to wake up the next morning at I think like 3:30 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and then catch the sunrise. So we went out to that like that like really pretty view with the I don't know if people can tell it's a sunrise or a sunset, but it was a sunrise. It was like kind of on the mountain or whatever. It's overlooking like all of Malibu. And that was the day we had to wake up mad early and then get all of these shots before, sunset time. And then we had to get shots for sunset as well. So we had to it was like a really fast turnaround, and we only had a couple days to do it. So, it was fast paced, but we were doing it for fun. I mean, it was really just like, oh, how can we have a good time with this and make it look cool? And like, oh, this would be a dope shot. It was all just like experimental and just for a good time, honestly. And then Emily's just like super dope at editing. So like that was, she's fast and, that's like what she does. So she sent over the rough idea and it was like super fucking fire. And that like kind of filtery color, like the shit that she does, I don't know how she does what she does, but yeah, so it was a pretty like fun, simple. We went to the fashion, is it called the Fashion District in LA? That's what it's called. That's what it's called in
downtown?
New York too. It's in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know like what it's but yeah, we went there to like get fabric and stuff for certain things. So it was fun. It was like exciting. I mean, I think ultimately that's what it should be when you're doing like your first music videos and stuff, like, and on the low, I did like music videos in the very beginning of me starting to do music, which nobody will ever see. And thank me for that. You don't want to.
We all have those kinds of things in our repertoire.
Oh yeah. Like Post Malone's.
Does he have some?
Have you not seen his video?
What is it?
He's wearing tiny little denim shorts and like,
no.
Oh my God. That's on your list of things to do today.
Please send me this link. That sounds incredible.
I will send that to you immediately. It's one of the most epic videos I've ever seen.
Oh my God. But you said something that always hits the nail on the head when it comes to music videos from me, which is time. Getting everything done in time. And I can't tell you how many times I've underestimated how long it was going to take, or overestimated how much I had prepared. Like I thought I had everything like ready to go, and then one thing fucks up, and it literally fucks up everything because you didn't prepare enough for this one thing.
You also you're never prepared enough.
No.
Like if in any situation, like live performances, music videos, everything, you're never going to be, something always will go wrong. Something that you really don't want to go wrong will go wrong. But I mean, yeah. And I also think people don't realize like for music videos and stuff, you need a fuckload of footage and you only end up using that much of it.
Yep.
So you film for like 48 whole hours worth of footage or something, and like you end up, I don't know the math, but like that would be maybe like 3 or 4 minutes,
Right.
Of
it's
a
like
song.
you end up using like 4%
exactly
of everything you filmed.
Yeah, so it's tiring at the end of it. You're like, well, I'm exhausted, but
it's much better. It's much better than not having enough footage. That's so much worse.
That sucks if you don't have enough and you don't like the shots that you have, but like everything else was really dope, like the view or like the angle of the sun, and then like you're making like a fucked up face.
Right.
That's all that you have.
You're like, we got no more takes of that. Like we have to use it. You're like, oh shit.
You're like, yeah, that's my double chin. Enjoy.
Yeah. You learn that lesson pretty fast once that happens.
Yeah, and also like if you're working with people that like do film stuff like at all, that's, I would say, like one of the number one things that they would say is like, we need a fuckload of footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely when you're doing a music video, surround yourself with people who do it all the time. It's one thing to get your buddy to help you out if you're just doing something for fun, but if you really want to take it seriously, like get people that are professional.
Yeah, and no lighting too. Oh my God. People that don't know lighting.
That's a hard one.
Lighting will change your life, and if it's shitty lighting, it's going to look trash. Like, yeah. Lighting is a huge thing.
It's crazy how much goes into these music videos, and even with sound. Like if you just have a friend who kind of knows how to use Logic or Ableton or whatever, you're only going to get a song that kind of sort of sounds good. But if you go to like some really tight producers, then they're going to know what they're doing.
Yep.
But then on the other hand, maybe they give you a contract that sucks. So
and that does happen, yes.
It does. So maybe try to find a middle ground.
Yep.
That's perfect timing, just because now we're going to shift over to the last 5, where I'm just going to ask you 5 quick questions and we'll be done.
Okay.
All right, number 1 is in the studio or playing live?
Those are 2 very different things.
Very different.
That's not even fair. I would honestly in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's like the most creative time, and you get to like get in touch with yourself and I don't know, figure out. It's just you learn so much in the studio about yourself and about how your approach and things. Like it's just more like intimate with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I would also say in the studio, I don't play live too much, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, in the studio, it's comfortable, but also you do have to face yourself in a certain way that if you're playing live, you're getting a lot of feedback from people as opposed to just like staring yourself in the mirror emotionally.
Yeah, and it's also really, I would say, studio too, because you're creating something generally like new and from scratch, and like you are making a little baby, it's like a,
Yeah.
So I would definitely say studio. Yeah.
Question number 2: what is a perfect album front to back?
Oh, I would say Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John, and I would say Rihanna's Anti album is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never listened to either one of those front to back.
You've never listened to... Oh, okay.
I know songs on both of them for sure, but front to back, I've never listened to the entirety of either one of those.
Yeah, I would say like the Anti album, I would say I could listen to, depending on my mood, I could listen to like 90% of that whole album like over and over and over again. I would say like maybe there's a couple songs that I'd be like, hey, I'm not in the mood for it. But generally, like the production and the everything in that, like the way her delivery, everything, to me, that album is timeless. And Elton John is just Elton John, and he's fucking insane. So, and I also, that's nostalgic for me, so that's probably a part of it, because I like grew up listening to Elton John.
It's hard to separate nostalgia from how you feel about albums.
Yeah, especially as like a kid, if like that just brings a lot of memory. But I think all albums bring memories. I think anything that you listen to that you like, you remember exactly where you were, how you felt when you heard it. So yeah,
it's funny how long it has been since Rihanna released Anti.
I know.
It's been like 6 years, maybe.
She's about to, whatever the fuck she's gonna do, it's gonna be an earthquake.
Yeah. I hope so. I'm excited to hear
I'm excited.
she's got coming on.
Yeah.
She was just like honored as like not Queen of Barbados.
But, yeah.
Like, what I don't remember what the honor was exactly, but
she bumped like Queen Elizabeth off of her fucking throne and was like, "It's me."
That's incredible. What a transition of power.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. But honestly, she deserves. I love her. She's a huge inspiration. And she's amazing at what she does. So
iconic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question number 3 is: who is your dream artist or producer to work with?
I would say, fuck, dude. Producer, I would say, I'm gonna cheat and say 2 people, and I would say Pharrell. And I actually have a song that's co-produced by Timbaland, but I wasn't like I wasn't creating with him, so I would say Timbaland for also producer. And then for an artist, Post Malone, probably. Like, it's just, I fucking love Post Malone. I think I just love his music, and I'm a huge fan, so.
Great answers. Pharrell would be amazing. And I've had a few people say Timbaland for their dream artist or producer to work with.
Yeah. They're just like, I don't know. He just doesn't really get like, they're timeless. They're so fucking timeless. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you listen to the shit that they put out like eons ago, and it like still goes so hard. And it's just like, it's nuts. It's really hard to be that timeless, honestly.
Yeah. Pharrell seems like he has the coolest energy.
I know. That's the other thing, is just like being in a room with him. Like, I feel like he's just like a little angel, like sent from heaven. Yeah. And he just like floats around the studio and like gives you positive energy.
I would love to meet him. Just to talk with him would be insane. He seems so smart and intelligent and just overwhelmingly like a positive guy.
Yeah, he's like a fucking like Buddha, or I just feel like you would shake his hand and like you'd instantly like be healed.
Yeah, he gives off that vibe. Somebody I wrote that I feel like I would love to see you collab with is SZA.
Oh my God, that would be so fire. She is so ridiculously talented. She's one of my favorite songwriters, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Her Control album
Instant classic.
on repeat for years, like years. And it's timeless. I will still listen to that album from top to bottom any day of the week. She is insane.
That is another one that's been out for a long time, and she hasn't put any new album out, but I guess
think
she
she's
put
about
out.
to.
It seems like it. She just put out "I Hate You," I think.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
was listening to that yesterday.
What did you
yeah.
think?
I actually really like it. I think like I think her like lyrically, I think she's unbelievable, and then her tone and her delivery on records is unmatched, I think, and because she's really created. If you create your own genre, really, I mean, she's created her own sound, and when you create your own sound, you can't really compare it to anybody else. So I definitely, I mean, I like the new. You know what I'm excited about is Tory Lane's album.
I've never listened to Tory Lane.
Okay. His new song that he just put out. What's it called? Something 80. Oh, an 87 something Stingray or something, like the car. I don't know.
Right.
But anyways, I just like heard a clip of it yesterday and I was like, holy fuck. Like I just hope his whole album is like that
Is it
vibe.
out? Is the song out?
This song is out.
Okay, I'll listen to it after this.
Yeah, you should listen to it. I'm super excited, and I think that if that's his album vibe and like that's where it's going, that's gonna be dope. So
Hell
I'm excited
yeah.
for that. Yeah.
I'll check it out after this. Question number 4 is, what's on your musical rotation right now?
Like what I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I started to. I was feeling the writer's block and feeling really uninspired a couple weeks ago, or have been for like a little bit. And I started listening to just like random shit. But I would say the shit that I listen to the most, I'm pulling up my phone so I can see it. I just discovered this girl. I think is that her name? Morgan with an E. She has a song called 3D, which I think is pretty fire. I started listening to the Super Bloom playlist on Apple Music.
Okay.
Just to like find some new shit. Like I just want some new shit that I haven't heard before. It helps like open up, little pockets in your brain. But I will say what I've been listening to the most in the last like few months is Lil Nas X's Montero album, which
So good.
What the fuck? Like, I just want to marry him for that. I mean, I don't. It's like overwhelming. I've literally listened to that album. I'm probably responsible for like 90% of the plays that he's gotten. I would say
he might be one of my favorite like celebrities to exist. Like celebrity, not just musical artist. He just handles it so well. He's so funny. He's a genius.
He is a genius, and he's like young. How old is he?
Like 23, 24.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's like in his blood. Like he was just so meant for it, and you can just tell. He is the way he carries himself, his confidence too. Like to me, it's like be you. Like that is. I'm so glad that he is just being himself, and he's not feeling like he's pressured into being someone else because of the genre he sings or the lifestyle or whatever the case is. Like that is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Hollywood's Bleeding is still one of my favorite albums. I know that came out a little while ago. What else? 21 Pilots album, Scaled and Icy. I've been listening to that like on repeat too.
Gotcha.
So yeah, just like, I don't know, random shit. Like when I hear stuff, I just kind of like it or I don't. So I add it to a playlist.
It's always fun to go exploring into new musical territory. Spotify's Fresh Finds indie playlist is always a go-to for me. That's how I find a lot of artists from this show, actually, is just going on there and seeing what's out, and there's always good shit on there.
Yeah, totally. That's like how you find the best music, honestly.
Question number 5, last one. What is your favorite decade of music?
See, again, though, with the nostalgia, like I was born in 92. So like early 2000s, anytime I hear like one of those like hits from the early 2000s, it's just like I go into a different realm. Yeah, I mean, I would say, honestly, or if I had to choose, I would say the early 2000s. Yeah, it was just like from fucking, well, early 2000s to like, what would like 2015 be? Or 2012? That's not early.
So like 2002 to 2012.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that.
I love when
know.
people give very specific answers like that. Somebody was like 77 to 78 or like 68 to 78. I'm like, yeah, honestly, I feel it.
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to listen because I know that there's, like, for example, oh, and this is another one that I would love front to back is Justin Timberlake's 2020 album.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorites of all time.
That was a classic. I remember when that came out.
It's like
Push Your Love Girl. So good.
Fuck, dude. That whole album was just like ridiculous. So that whenever like that vibe and then the early 2000s with like the pop era shit that was like felt new, you know. It was like new waves of pop.
I feel like 2007 was a year where things really changed musically. I don't know why. Like, I feel like if you say the 2000s, it's really like, well, are you talking about 2000 to 2007 or 2007 to 2010?
Exactly.
I feel
but
like
that's
there's such a big difference.
right. And that's why I would say I would have to pick pockets in like the 2000 area. You know, I would have to say like there's certain albums from like the early 2000s and then there's certain albums for me from like, you know, the 2010s.
Right.
It just, yeah, I mean, it's, but the early 2000s was like a era in itself. It was a different world.
Awesome. Well, Valley Girl, thank you for joining me for an episode of On That Note. That is our time here, but it's been awesome talking with you about your newest single, If I Want To, featuring Dev Soter. Everyone needs to go listen to it right now. Be on the lookout for more new tunes coming out, hopefully very soon.
Yes.
I'm very excited to hear them whenever they come out.
It will be soon. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Awesome. Well, send me that Post Malone video, please.
I'm going to send you a lot of stuff.
Okay. Perfect. I can't wait.
Right,
awesome.
cool.
Valley Girl, I'll talk to you later.
All right.
See ya.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.
So sweet, it feels like a drug.